Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a unique job in the world of hockey with our very special guest, Kimberly Bates, Director of Digital Content for the Milwaukee Admirals. You may know Kim best as the sassy Adsmin on social media, and today she's going to give us a look at life behind the keyboard.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this special episode with a shout out to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everyday listeners who tune in Monday through Friday to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. We appreciate your support, and we love that we get to spend just a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and in a moment, I will be joined by my partner in crime, Emma Lingen, who is the site editor and beat reporter covering the Nashville Predators for the Hockey News. Emma and I are so excited to introduce you to Kim Bates. Kim is the Director of Digital Content for the Milwaukee Admirals. Kim has made quite a splash this season with her fun and sassy social media posts, helping the fans get to know more about the Milwaukee Admirals players and covering a phenomenal season in Milwaukee. In part one of our interview with Kim today, she's going to share her sports origin story and tell us the best and the most challenging parts of her unique job. Before we dive into all of that, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. We are joined today at Locked On Predators by a very special guest. We are joined by Kimberly Bates. Kim is the Director of Digital Content for the Milwaukee Admirals, best known by one of the coolest nicknames in sports. She is the Adsmin. And if you follow the Milwaukee Admirals on social media, you know that Kim is an absolute social media genius. And if you don't follow the Milwaukee Admirals on social media, I don't know what you're doing with your time. So, Kim, thank you so much for jumping on and joining us. When I came up actually to Milwaukee to see a game, I was excited to talk to the players, Carl Taylor. I got to see the pirate ship. But literally, when I found out you were a real person, it was like I have met Santa Claus, and he is as wonderful as I thought he was.
I felt it. You were like, Charlie said, "This is Kim. She's the one that does all of our social media." And your face like just lit up and was like, "I've been meaning to find who you are. Like, I've been so excited to meet you." And I'm like, me? Really? Yeah. Me? And you and Zach Gilchrist at the same time. He was also like, "Oh my God, I've been wanting to meet like the person behind the Twitter and the Instagram." And I was like, it's just little old me. You would not suspect it. I can promise you that.
I did fangirl a little bit on you, and so I apologize for that.
That's okay.
I'm going to tone it down for the episode.
That is okay.
So I wanted to kick off, Kim, and just ask you, what is your sports origin story? Like, what has led you to connecting into a career in sports? Have you always been interested in sports? How did you kind of get into this whole arena of sports?
Yeah, so I grew up a pretty big tomboy, not like Icebox from the Little Giants, but definitely someone who like wanted to find any way I could to bond with my dad and my older brother. And I saw that was through football and through baseball. I don't really care. Like, I love football, but as a woman, I can't play football. I mean, I'm sure I could now, but back then, like, I was fascinated with baseball. Because that's, like my dad and my brother traded baseball cards together. And like the real like big thing that brought us all together, and like other than us being like a family, like we all like found this love for baseball and for football. And so I played softball growing up because that was the closest thing I could get to playing baseball like my brother did. We grew up big Kansas City fans, and I never really wanted to work in sports. I never had that idea until I was probably like after high school. I didn't have a lot of like women to look up to in the sports world. So I didn't really know how possible it was or like how real it was. And so I kind of like discouraged myself and was like, why would I do that? I don't even know if I can. What would I do with that? But my mom is a journalist. She's a print journalist and has been my entire life. And she always told me like my personality and how I can just walk up to a tree and make friends with it. Like I should be a journalist. I was like, no, I don't want to do anything that you do. Like I want to be my own person. And honestly, as soon as she stopped telling me I should be a journalist, I was like, you know what? I think I should be a journalist. So I went to college for TV journalism. I wanted to be on MLB Network. Journalists in particular, it was like, I mean, it was social media existed, but it was pre-COVID at this point.
Right.
Social, like journalists in particular, I loved the storytelling aspects of sports. That was how I connected to football and baseball when I was younger. Like I wanted to know what these guys' favorite color was. And I wanted to know like what these guys, like where they came from, their origin stories. Like I didn't care about their stats. I didn't care about anything I could find at ESPN. Like I wanted to know them as people, which is kind of what led me into wanting to do the journalism side of it, because I wanted to bring other people's favorite athletes or athletes they don't even know would be their favorites into their households via TV or social media and help them get to know them as if it was them behind the camera asking them the questions and talking to them. So I went to University of Iowa, majored in TV journalism and sports studies was my double major, and then I minored in women and gender studies. And I graduated in May of 2020, peak
Ooh.
COVID,
Ooh.
and that killed quite a lot of our dreams. I think our 2020 graduates' dreams, but I saw how like clubhouses, arenas, stadiums, they weren't allowing media into anywhere. So then I saw how journalists were able to connect with the athletes and the sports and the teams through social media. And I was like, oh, well, that's really cool. Like I used to do some stuff when I was in high school for 17 magazine and their social media. And like I knew kind of how to be not like an influencer, but I knew how to like speak about a brand and market it and kind of connect with it digitally, just never for a sports team, other than when I was working for the TV news station in college and I had to like promote my own stories. So after I covered Iowa baseball, Iowa women's basketball, pre Caitlin Clark, that would have been so cool if I was part of that, and women's field hockey. And after I graduated, I was like, I kind of want to go into the digital sphere. And this was before colleges really started offering social media classes. So I kind of did it all on my own. I moved to Arizona after I graduated college, and because I knew there was nothing for me in Iowa during COVID, and just tried my best to find a sports job. I wanted to work for a spring training team, but there was no spring training that season and no minor league season. And so finally I just got a social media job that wasn't in sports, because I was like, if I can't find a sports job, I'm at least going to get another job or a job on the other side of this career that I want, so I can fine tune my skills so that when that opportunity comes, I'll be ready for it. Finally got my dream job, where I thought was my dream job in baseball. I got a job as the public relations and digital media specialist, I want to say was my title, for the Springfield Cardinals, which is the AA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. And it was great, but I learned that it is not what I wanted out of a job. And so I kind of kept my options open, found actually an opening with the Brewers here in Milwaukee. And I was like a year shy of experience with them. And the woman I was talking to who would have been hiring me, she was like, you need to get out of Springfield, Missouri. So let me help you like find something, which like she never had to do. And I'm eternally grateful for her, because she said like, oh, how much do you know about hockey? And I was like, nothing. I couldn't even tell you how many points a goal was worth, like nothing. And she was like, okay, well, the Milwaukee Admirals are hiring. It's the minor league hockey team that's in town. Long story short, here I am after my first season, and I don't think I would ever work in another sport that's not hockey ever again.
Coming up, Kim talks about the way different players view social media, and she also reveals which Admirals player chirps her the most. Want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. If you are looking to attend great summer events, but you want to avoid the ticketing hassles, you need to check out Gametime. Gametime is the fastest and easiest way to get tickets to your favorite sporting events, concerts, theater, and more. The Gametime app takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. They show you your all-in pricing upfront, so you're not surprised by excess fees at checkout, and you can even get a view from your seat to know exactly what you're paying for. Right now, Gametime has great deals on the Nashville Sounds, musicals at TPAC, Lil Wayne, and Alanis Morissette, who are headed to Nashville. And with Gametime's lowest price guarantee, if you find a ticket in your row and section for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
I love that you started in baseball because I did as well. And I still kind of have a foot in baseball in my career right now, but I love what you say about how, like, I mean, unlike you, I did grow up a hockey fan as well, but I definitely, like, professionally had only ever really been in baseball. And so I agree. There's something different about hockey and hockey people, not just the players, but like just the people in the sport, that it makes you think like, wow, how could I ever go work anywhere else or do anything else? Because these people are so special.
It's crazy. And like, you don't know it until you're on the other side. Like,
Yep.
like I said, like my job at the Cardinals was what I thought of was a dream job. Like it was so cool. I was able to do so much with the players and like get to meet all these really cool people and interact with them in a way that like sometimes I think we take for granted. Is like I'm having everyday conversations with these people that most people would just want like a hi from, and I'm like chirping them, like it's just one of those things. But hockey is just, the personalities are different, the humility is different, like the genuine kindness I think is so different, and that goes for players, coaches, front office people, like even like people on other teams. Like it's crazy. I don't know how to explain it or put it into words, but it is like the best difference I could have ever found.
Yeah.
I feel like hockey is just, I mean, once you get into sports in general, especially pro sports, you realize what a small world it is. And then hockey, it's like even smaller. And it just seems like everybody, not necessarily that everybody knows everybody, although that tends to be true sometimes too, but it's like everyone, like you said, they want to help each other out, and they want to, it's almost like, in a way, especially if you're part of like a travel party with a team, which I used to be with the Predators too, it's almost like trauma bonding a little bit. You're like, we've been through this together. And like, no one really, like you said, you don't really understand it until you've been on that side. But I want to go back really quickly to something that you said about chirping the players, because that is something, that is how I endeared myself to the Predators players pretty quickly when I started there. So I have to know who from the Admirals has maybe, like, who has chirped you the best?
Reed
like,
Schaefer.
okay.
Reed Schaefer.
Really?
Reed
The rookie.
Reed Schaefer. Yeah.
The rookie. Okay.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the redhead like connection, but like we will just chirp each other so much. Like when I'm taking their rival pictures, he will never look at the camera unless I'm not the one taking the pictures of the video. Then he'll look at the camera. He will not look at the camera. And like I'll even like just like cheese at him when he's walking in, and he'll just like shake his head and look down. Or he'll like, I'm trying to think of like specific examples, but like he'll just talk crap to me when he's leaving the rink, and then but it's like the most endearing thing. Like it all comes from like a very good place. Like I don't think he would do it if he knew I couldn't handle it. Because I give it right back to him. So
and that's the key.
Yeah. Like the fact
it shows that they're comfortable with you. Like that is, if they're always uber polite to you, then like that's nice, but it means they're not totally comfortable with you. They're comfortable if they chirp you.
And you get that from some of the vets too, but I think I think the rookies have a little bit more fun just because like it is their first season. Not saying that the vets don't have fun, but like I think there's a difference in how they look at front office people and or even how they look at the social media admin, right? Like I think the rookies are more likely to see me as part of the team, like I'm one of them, whereas the vets are like she's part of the front office. And so that line is like kind of like it's not murky water, but you really know like who looks at you what way.
Do you think it's a generational thing as far as comfort with social media? Because like, look, like I social media to me is the scariest place on earth.
For sure.
So I wonder if just because they've grown up with it, maybe the younger players are just more comfortable sharing stuff on it.
For sure. Cal O'Reilly, Ryan's older brother, kind of just like he'll do the TikTok for sure, but he's not as like interactive with it as Zach LaRue or even Joachim Kemmel, right? I guess I never thought about it being super generational compared to it just being guys' comfort with it or
Personality
like
or
personality. Yeah. But because I don't think there's any guy that will come out on social media that it's not his personality in person. I think it's all very much like some guys just don't like the camera and they don't like Phil Tomasino dodges my TikToks all the time. And there's one, I'm literally chasing him down the hallway to make him do the video because he is just like, he just like eyes me and just like speed walks. And I'm like, we're not doing this. We're not doing this today, but we do because I'm not like, there's only so much I can do, right? But there's a video of like I have of where I'm recording him coming out of the locker room and I'm literally chasing him down to get him to do this video. And does he do it? No. But honestly, that's part of it too. It's like they're comfortable enough to dodge me rather than like, oh, fine, I have to do it. Like they're comfortable enough to say no. And like I just like, and I kind of get a read on them too. Like I would never chase down, say, Cal O'Reilly if he doesn't want to do a video, or if a guy's kind of having a bad day, like he just walks by the video. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like that, I don't care. I'm not going to push you. But people like Tomer, I will like hunt down to do these videos.
What is the best part of this job for you?
I kind of said this already, but like the relationships that you build with these guys, like I really have to like remind myself how lucky I am. And I don't remember. I think it was Zach LaRue told me like he kind of had to bring me down to reality, or I guess bring me up to reality, where like so many people would kill to be in my shoes, and I kind of just think of it as a job. Like these guys are just guys. Like I don't see them as like people who would get stopped in the street. Like if they were, I mean, I think it's different in Nashville because they're more recognizable faces. Like with the Predators, but like even just with as fans, like fans seeing me on the benches during warmups, and guys will like Anthony Angelo would always spray me with the water bottle, and he said every time he does that, he either scores or we win, and it's literally rang true, which is terrifying. But like people will see that behind the glass, and they're like, "That's so cool." And I'm like, "What?" It's just it. But I have to remind myself, like, this isn't normal for people. And like, you get to know these guys on such a different level. And that's honestly what I love about my job is that I want to try to bring that to social media. And I've had some fans find me like on my personal Instagram and Twitter and DM me and say like, this is the most I've ever felt connected to the Admirals. Like, this is the most I've felt like I know the guys versus like in years prior, because like their personalities just shine on social media. Granted, I'm going to be the one that says like, that's not me. It's literally just the guys. But the fact of the matter is that people are feeling more connected to that. And like, that's just such a feel good moment of like, that is why I'm in this job, because I want to bring these athletes to people's phones and to their homes and feel like they're part of their family and their team. And just to get that recognition, like it's just something I have to remind myself of sometimes, that like I get to wake up and do this every day. That's insane to me.
I love that. And just from the Nashville perspective, which, I know that Milwaukee the Milwaukee Admirals are their own team with their own fan base in Milwaukee and an amazing atmosphere. But just from the Nashville perspective, it's such a gift because it builds up in Nashville and among the fan base this excitement about, hey, I know a little bit more about Zachary LaRue or Joachim Kamel or Reed Schaefer. And I love the connection that it builds across Milwaukee to the Nashville Predators as well. It really is a gift to people here as well. We're going to wrap up part 1 of our interview with Kim coming up. She's going to share the most challenging part of her dream job. First, today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Hockey GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NHL GM and managing your hockey franchise? Do you think you could run the Predators better than Barry Trotz? Well, your dream can come true, and this game is most definitely for you. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the seasons, and lead it to glory. You can hire the right coaches and staff, trade players or draft picks, navigate through free agency and the draft, all in a challenging and realistic game world. As a Preds fan, you know there is no offseason. GMs are constantly making moves at every point of the year to improve their team's chances, and that's why I think you are going to love this game. Ultimate Hockey GM is completely free. It's playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. By the way, Locked On Network listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in the game store, so make sure you check it out. To download the game, just visit hockeygm.app or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate Hockey GM, start your dynasty today. What is the most challenging part of this job?
Well, right now, content in the off season. I don't have guys to harass and bug every day for content. But I think I actually posted about this on my personal Twitter the other day. It's hard not to take comments on social media about what happens on the ice, like personally to you. It's like, it's coming to my personal phone. Right. And like and this, for example, like with the Coachella series, I'm getting all of these tweets and all of these comments and all of these story replies to my personal phone. And like, I'm able to like bring myself back to earth and like, okay, this isn't about me, but it's hard when that's all you're getting. Like, I don't even see notifications like texts from my mom or anything because the notifications are so prevalent. And like, it's one of those things where I can't really turn the notifications off because it's part of my job. But at the same time, like just learning the boundaries, I guess. And I think the way I kind of cope with it is like, I probably chirp more fans than most teams in the league because like, if you're like, it's kind of like trauma humor. Like if you're going to talk crap to me on social media, I'm going to put you on blast and I'm going to let my fans take care of you. Like, and I mean, some people do it now on purpose because they want the attention, but like learning not to take things like from a team perspective and a brand perspective personally. And I think that's something that every social media manager will always deal with is just kind of setting that line. And I mean, I'm never going to say I have the hardest job in the world because I think I have the most fun job in the world, but like, I don't get an off button. Like I don't get to log off for the day or something, like I'm pretty sure when Utah released their jersey designs, I quote tweeted it with like the eyebrow raise emoji at like 10 o'clock at night. Like I saw it and I'm going to post about it. And like, that's my choice, but it's still like, I think I'm on our feed and our social media accounts and I am on my own personal social accounts, which is a blessing and a curse, like a good and a bad thing. But I think there's very few difficult parts about my job, but I think that's probably like the one.
I like that's a really good point that you make about, it's coming to your personal phone, your personal computer, but also a lot of times these people are talking about or taking shots, maybe not at you personally, but they're taking shots at the people who have become like your family, like these people that you know and you care about. And like you said, you know them as people and they're not just like, okay, maybe he missed a a shot or messed up a play or something like that, but he's still a good person. It's like you get kind of
Yes.
protective of your people. And I struggled with that as well. Like I still do sometimes because I know these guys on a much more personal level. And again, it not quite to the same level as you being, in charge of the social accounts, but as a journalist, it's the responsible thing to kind of have your finger on the pulse of what the fans are saying about the team and, what they care about, what stories they want to hear. So sometimes it is a necessary evil where you have to look at the dreaded comment section and see what people are saying. And it's like, stop talking about my friends like that. Like it does get hard. I totally feel that.
And it was like one of the only one I can think of like at the moment is like when people will call like Zach LaRue a rat or something, or about like, or a bully on the ice or something. I'm like, don't you say that. Like I'll get so protective because it's like, I know him. I know he's nice. I know he's not a rat, but nobody else does. And so it is like I could say that about my brother, but you can't say that about my brother. Like it's just that protective, like, and there have been some of them that have told me like I'm just like the older sister that they never had. And like that's like the, I guess, unique relationship about it. But like when the comments roll in, like kind of talking, and the fans will be like, why aren't you scoring more on Twitter? Like, what do you think I'm doing? I'm just behind a computer. Not me. So that's where it's like, okay, all right. But then, yeah, it is hard, but kind of just like taking myself back a little bit and realizing that these guys don't care. So why do I care?
And you also, I find it helpful to sometimes remind myself that like, okay, if these people are getting this upset about a hockey team that they have nothing to do with, like, then you know what, maybe my life is actually pretty good. If this is what is getting them really riled up, like if your biggest problem in life, like so much to the fact that you feel the need to tweet me about it is that your hockey team isn't scoring, then I kind of feel bad for you. I feel a little bit of pity for you.
Yep. Like I've been a sports fan for a while, and even though like I have used social media for a while, I don't think I've ever had the thought cross my mind like, oh, the Royals aren't playing well, I'm going to tweet their Twitter and yell at them about it.
And tell them what to do.
Yeah. Like, okay, well, why don't you put some wheels on, buddy, and you get out there and then tell me how to do this.
I think that's the equivalent of the guy, like the old drunk guy in the stands yelling, shoot it. Like, what do you think they're listening to you? Like, I mean, to me, doing that on social media is the equivalent of that. And I'm totally with you. I'm like, some people, I think they need an outlet and they need to feel heard, and they want the attention, and that's just how they're going to do it. And it is unfortunate though, because there is a real person reading all of those tweets.
There's a toll to that for sure.
It takes a lot. And like, I mean, again, when I worked for the Predators, even now still, but like sometimes people will take shots at me personally, but I like on social media, those upset me less. But like when they're coming at Cody Glass and saying that, I'm like, oh, I will throw hands right now if you talk about him. So
like, you can call Adsmin like probably an ugly person behind the laptop, and like you like they don't know what they're talking about. Like they don't even know if I'm a girl or a guy half the time. Hopefully they figured it out because I've taken enough puck pictures that they'd see my nails. But like they'll like say like, oh, Adsmin is just like an ugly troll behind the screen. I'm like, okay, probably. I don't know. Depends on the day. Did I do my hair today? I don't know. But like if you come after our players or our coach and you're like, oh, Coach Taylor needs to figure this out or he's gone, like, don't you say anything.
Not today, Satan.
Not today.
Not today. My grandfather always used to say some people would kick if they had both legs cut off. And sometimes when I read repeated comments coming back on social media, I have a moment where I'm like, my grandfather was a wise man. There are just some people who would kick if they had both legs cut off. And you see it on social media. And that's exhausting.
Yeah. And it's just like you have to remind yourself, like, if you were face to face with these people, they would never say anything to you. Like, they would smile and wave and tell you how great of a job you're doing. But because they're keyboard warriors behind the screen, like, take it with a grain of sugar, honestly, because you're going to need it.
Emma and I want to thank Kimberly Bates for joining us on today's show. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as we wrap up our conversation with her. Kim is going to share her best career advice for anyone wanting to get into social media and sports. She's going to share her first impressions of hockey culture and reveal some insider information about the players in a fun game of rapid fire question. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back tomorrow with part 2 of our talk with Kim. We'll see you then.